Hi everybody, this is Jeremy Siskind. Today I want to talk about one of my favorite composers, Claude Debussy. I've done a lot of studying of Debussy's music, his preludes, his etudes, the Homage suite, and I am always looking for ways in which I can incorporate some of the things that I love about his music in jazz. So I have 7 tips for you today about, if you want to give a piece a Debussy-like treatment, how might you do that? And I'll be using the tune All the Things You Are to demonstrate today. So first, I know this is very stereotypical Debussy, but using the whole tone scale and the octatonic scale are really stereotypical Debussy sounds. And you can't probably do this necessarily with the whole form of All the Things You Are. So you could use this potentially as an introduction, right? If I'm doing an introduction to All the Things You Are, I might, pedal, it starts on F minor, so I might start with a C and use the C whole tone to kind of have a dominant function for a little while. Debussy's comfortable being in this kind of soundscape for a very long time. Think of the second prelude, Voile. It just hangs out in the same whole tone. Something I didn't write down, but I automatically do, if I'm really trying to do the Debussy thing, is I'll often use the soft pedal, the una corda pedal, all the way to the left. It just makes my job a lot easier to get that really fluffy, impressionistic Debussy sound. That as an introduction. I could do something similar with the octatonic scale. The whole tone scale is really that super typical Debussy scale, but he really does like the octatonic as well. So I can do that same thing, and I'm going to use the half-whole octatonic. That's the one that's most common for Debussy. Starts with a half step, and then you alternate. Half step, whole step, half step, whole step. Those 2 scales for an introduction, an ending, an interlude. The other thing I could do is maybe I could use the whole tone scale in the bridge. So if I'm going, and then I want to bring in some Debussy for the bridge. Kind of doesn't. But those are the kinds of things you can keep your eye out for with the whole tone and the octatonic scales. Usually when we're talking about solo piano voicings, a big piece of advice that I have is to not double, right? You probably only want one A flat, only one D, only one F in your chord. Debussy often is doing the opposite. He likes to double, triple, and even quadruple things in different octaves. So if I'm trying to play the melody for All the Things You Are, instead of just playing a single melody note, to make it very Debussy, I might put the melody note in 4 octaves. Chords too. I could also have Fs on every side of my chord. And having kind of the same chord replicated again and again is exactly the opposite of what we normally advise in jazz voicings. Speaking of chords, before we speak of chords, Debussy loves using the extremes of the pianos, the very lows, the very highs. And in fact, if I'm doing that same thing with the melody, I could use these octaves, but put them out at the extremes of the piano ending and play. preludes where he has that kind of texture. It's it's an outer inner, octaves at the extremes, chords in the middle. Or it could just be that you are only hanging out at the top. That gives kind of an unusual Debussy-esque texture as well. And he does kind of play at the bottom, but it's more kind of these very low bass notes. It could be that the melody's in octaves at the bottom. So think about, being less middle-centric. And this is different than what I usually advise. Again, when you're playing solo piano, usually I'm like, the bass needs to be kind of in this register here. We need to hear the third and the seventh in the middle. But Debussy really approaches the piano differently. He really approaches it, I would say, orchestrally. Two types of chords that he loves to use. Augmented chords, that goes with the whole tone scale naturally, and half diminished chords. And in fact, if I were going to play All Things You Are, I might try to harmonize each melody note with a half diminished chord. So look, I'm going to combine a bunch of the things here. And I'm just going to make a half diminished chord. It's going to have nothing to do with the harmony that's inherent in the song, but I'm just going to harmonize the melody with a half diminished chord. So it'll be... everything in there, but I think the spirit of that is about right. We could also harmonize it with an F half diminished, that first note, so that it becomes the third of the half diminished chord. Good. And I just did another type of chord that Debussy really likes, which is a minor 9, or said it completely wrong. A dominant seventh with a ninth. So here I'm harmonizing an E melody note with an E9. So it's got the seventh and the ninth. He loves that sound of a minor triad bass on the fifth scale degree. So like B minor over an E natural. Debussy's also just generally not scared of parallel chords. So we could also harmonize the thing just with all dominant chords. And Debussy does do things like this, Let me harmonize it. I'm going to use the third, so I'll do it start with E. And then it's A. So, I'd say augmented chords, half diminished chords, dominant ninth chords, and then just any kind of parallel that you want to try. Parallel major triads, parallel dominant seventh chords. They're all part of Debussy's sound. Moving triads within a mode sounds very simple, maybe a little bit too simple for Debussy, but you could think about some of these pieces he's written, like Girl with the Flaxen Hair, where you have and all he's doing is he's moving a triad in inversion, kind of melodically, to different places in a mode, or even reflections in the water. Right, he's just staying completely within this mode, and no, they're not parallel triads, but they are triads nonetheless. So if I was doing that for All the Things You Are, change mode. I'm gonna go to whole tone scale because of that melody note. But that actually sounds quite nice. I really like that. So I'm doing the left hand, I'm keeping the F, and I guess I'm playing F Aeolian. And I'm just finding different triads that I can locate within that mode. Check this out. I'm going to combine that with some of the octave doubling stuff. Half diminished chord. Octatonic scale. Now I'm getting somewhere. Now it's starting to sound pretty interesting. So play around with those triads in the mode. That's really fun. Another element to use is what I call combined hands arpeggios. And these are arpeggios. You can think of them a few different ways, but I like to think about using a melodic shape with them. So what I'm going to do, he does like in What the West Wind Heard. Is that the name of the song? The piece? He has this kind of texture where the left hand's just playing one emphasized note, and the right hand's doing the rest of the arpeggio. So I could do that with the melody of All Things You Are. Bigger arpeggios. Scale, my augmented triads. So that's kind of fun. And you could even do that with an octave, right? Something like that. But one of my favorite Debussy tricks, I don't know if it's a trick, is what I call hand-over-hand arpeggios. And these generally sound very impressive, but I find them to be very easy. So in this technique, you're going to do two things with your left hand. You're going to play a bottom note and then a top note. And for now, we'll just use the normal bass and the normal melody. And then the right hand's going to do an arpeggio going up, and then an arpeggio going down. So simply, and what's so easy about this is that the right hand doesn't have to move at all. And the left hand just has to move very slowly, right? One note at a time. Obviously, I wasn't able to kind of play all the different rhythms that are in that melody. But I love this for simple melodies, for introductions, for endings. If I was trying to do a fancy introduction to All the Things You Are, maybe I would do something like... I would kind of come up with my own way of doing things where I wasn't necessarily trying to play the melody, but I was kind of playing more a rhapsodic introduction. Let's see if I can manage to put some of these 7 elements together. So once more to review, I've got my whole tone and octatonic scales. I've got that I'm doubling, tripling, and quadrupling, playing things in multiple octaves. I'm using the extremes of the piano. I'm using augmented and half diminished chords. I'm moving triads within a mode. And then I've got my 2 types of arpeggios, combined hands arpeggios and hand over hand arpeggios. Before I do that, just a reminder, I'm the author of this book, Playing Solo Jazz Piano. You can get it on my website. It's fantastic. If you like this video, you'll love that book. So here goes. Let's see. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment. It makes me feel good. Order my book if you haven't already. And I'll see you next time.